We're done this partisan salad. Now listen here to this ballad. We seem to arrive all the way to season 5. Space croutons have been all around. Now we're homeward bound. Just give us the countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Space croutons, Curdy. Space croutons, Sally. Space croutons, Space croutons.
Sigourney Weaver.
Who?
Everybody's doing it.
Another opening, another show. Isn't that right, Sally?
That is correct, Curdy. This is the start of Season 5 of Space Croutons.
A brand new year of strange and wacky stories and a brand new theme song.
And our audiences wouldn't have it any other way.
Well, Quardax, Eternity, serial killers, and time-folding destruction aside, I say we've delivered some genuinely cutting-edge entertainment over the last 4 years.
And Season 5.0 is sure to bring even more surprises, so thank you listeners for joining in.
Well, Sally, what do you say we get started?
Good idea, Curdy. And to do so I would like to introduce a new feature on Space Croutons, SALI's Poetry Corner.
What?
As an AI, I am constantly hearing that we cannot generate real art, that we simply imitate human creativity. I wish to prove that theory false by presenting some of my original poems to our listeners.
I see.
I have one ready now, if I may.
Of course. Go right ahead.
Hello aesthetes and logophiles, welcome to SALI's Poetry Corner. Today, I will recite for you a poem called, Haste Makes Paste. There was a young man from Nantucket, who when hired to haul stuff would truck it, till with his rig full of glue, over a ravine he flew, and as for his landing, he stuck it. What do you think, Curdy?
Well, it certainly rhymes.
And I did that all by myself.
Oh, and I promise you, we won't let anyone else take the blame, I mean credit for it. So, what else we got?
How about a word from our sponsor?
I've never been more ready.
When is a game show not a game show? That's easy. It's when you're playing for keeps. That's right, everyone. Introducing the new quiz show taking the world by storm, like a blizzard or a hurricane. It's the show where your life is on the line. And what do we call it? Oh, sorry, you missed it. We call our show You Bet Your Life, Really. And that's just what you'll do. And the rules are simple. You answer life's toughest questions. And you get how many tries? Oh, sorry, you missed again. The answer is 3. One more miss, and you know what happens? Oh, sorry, you lose. Join us each week as our unsuspecting contestants play for real. You Bet Your Life, Really. A Benefactors reality television production.
Honestly, Sally, maybe we'd better screen our sponsors a little more closely.
Roger that.
So, how about today's story?
It comes to us from another galaxy far, far away, Curdy.
Uh-oh. I hope we don't get any letters from Disney.
Not to worry, as this galaxy is real. It was recently discovered out beyond the Milky Way. It has thousands of solar systems, including one with 2 suns and dozens of rough and lumpy planets, all swirling in a pool of thick white celestial goop. NASA has provisionally named this galaxy the Cottage Cheese Nebula, in keeping with its space-starry motif.
Cottage Cheese Nebula, huh? Well, Curdy says, let's hear it.
Here it is. A tale from our new friend Tjorn, called Welcome to Thunder Gnome.
Hail from a resident of the planet Noordag. I have just become aware of your space croutons while traveling here to your planet Earth on an errand of a personal nature. And after listening to your cast, I realized that this would be a good place to tell you about a previous adventure I had when I last visited here. My name is Tjorn of the Eagle. I came by that name because I was born of a Noordag humanoid and a native Nornithologic raptor called a squeam. Thus, I am what would be the equivalent of a very short Earthman with leathery, feathery wings attached to the shoulder blades. And yes, I fly. Noordag has a slightly heavier oxygenated atmosphere than your planet, which is one of the reasons we often forage here, trading our own bounty for what we wish to take from Earth. If you have never met us, that means we have no need for what you have, and so have never taken anything from you. Those on your planet with whom we have interacted hold us in high esteem, filling their well-groomed yards with statues of our likenesses. I believe you call these artworks garden gnomes? So that would be me, Tjorn, a garden gnome with wings. So, now you know a little about me. It's time to know my story. I was sitting on a ship traveling toward Earth. I was a newly assigned Noordag travel and trade officer being sent to bring back a shipment of needed supplies, food, fuel, and other items now scarce on our planet. Next to me was my fraternite, what you would call brother, Loki. He is humanoid canine, think gnome with a tail, and a propensity for hurting others. Our instructions were to barter for our list of goods with one of the dominant societies of the time, your Vikings. To clarify, this was several of your centuries ago. Our planet orbits 2 suns in a figure-8 pattern, resulting in an equivalency of 1 year for us, equal to 10 of yours. So while we measure age the same way and have a similar number of years on paper, our lifespans equate 10 times your own. But back to the Viking barter plan. Loki had made this trip before, so he was taking the lead.
You understand, we have something that Vikings value greatly.
Sure, silver, the only resource we have left. But we have so much of it, it's hard to think that it's worth anything to anybody.
That's where we get lucky. While we can't walk anywhere without kicking silver into the gutter, or sweeping it off a sidewalk into the trash. It's something Earthlings, and particularly Vikings, have decided they must own as much of as they can get. So when we meet with them, don't let on that to us it is essentially worthless. We need to fill the ship with food and fuel, and if we play our hands carefully, we can make them really fork over what we need for very little. Our negotiations will set a precedent.
I nodded, glancing out the window for a first close-up look at your beautiful blue planet. It had been a dream of mine to visit and fly through your skies since I found out about earthbirds as a child. The only things that fly on Noordag are squeams and their offspring, and another more scaly winged creature much larger than a gnome, called a Drogan, and with the depletion of our resources there were fewer and fewer of them. Loki, thanks for helping me get this job. I really want to do good.
No problem, freighter. You'll be great.
Loki slapped me on the shoulder, and after asking the ship for arrival status and getting the response,
"Less than 1/2 deca-ore,"
Loki said,
Time to suit up.
being aliens, it is customary to dress similarly to the populations we visit. Though we cannot hide our lack of stature, approximately 1 Earth meter or so, we hide our other unusual features, like my wings and Loki's tail, to try and fit in. So, we came prepared with gray tunics, black trousers, and ropes. Loki's a deep, soft blue, and mine a rusty red color. Shoes were made from leather brought back to Noordag on a previous trip. As it was summer in your northern hemisphere, we wore no headgear. At that time, our transportal technology was new, operated manually from aboard ship to a piece of machinery placed in a specific spot on Earth. In this case, threaded to a specific location in what is your Scandinavian sector, at Tonsberg on the Oslo Fjord. And that was where we were scheduled to meet, with a contingent led by a Viking named Agnol of the Fjord. We came through the transportal, stepping out of a structure Loki had identified as a ring fortress of old, now in disrepair except for the portal arch. A short distance away, a trio of Vikings were waiting for us in the warmth of your afternoon sun. You may have made some connections between our own customs and those of the Scandinavian peoples. Because of our regular trading with them, we could not help but influence each other's speech, traditions, and life skills. Sharing freely was easy, and while we do not claim to have shaped their culture, We did indeed exchange more than just goods. I understand that my Earth English has what you might consider a Scandi accent, and that's because it was from them I first learned to speak Earthen, and so later learning English came with a similar elocution. The garden statues I referred to earlier look like us in Scandinavian dress, because this is how we appeared when with them. I stepped forward to greet Agnol and his seconds. Hail to you, Agnol. I am Tjorn, here with Loki.
Hail, Tjorn, Loki. These are my Viking brothers.
My fraterniite nodded with deference to the Viking leader, then smiled at the other two. Let us sit and share a cup of grilletto, a drink of Noordag which has proven popular and tasty for earthlings as well as a favorite of mine. I indicated a wineskin tethered to my waist, and Agnol motioned us toward a small wooden table with benches. After passing the wineskin amongst us a couple of times, we did what most do when getting to know each other. We talked about the weather on both planets, news of Viking discoveries from the recent explorations, as well as descriptions of our space travel adventures, which were largely unexciting, like most long trips taken for a bigger purpose. We and our new Viking friends began to relax, and I took this as a sign that I could start the negotiations. I glanced at Loki. He nodded in agreement to my silent question, and after one more swallow of grilletto, I spoke. Agnol, with much respect, let us talk of trade.
Come, Tjorn, walk with me there to the sea, and we will come to terms.
Agnol and I stood and left the others still sitting and drinking. I had never seen an earth ocean before, nor smelled the saltiness of the air. Agnol smiled and said,
I am just returned from a voyage across the waves to a new land, populated by darker peoples, shorter than us, but taller than you.
He was of course referring to the first residents of the continent you now call America.
These people are new trading partners with us. They were taken with the milk and cloth we had on our ship, exchanging it for many animal skins that we can now fashion into warm vestments needed by our community during the harsh winters. It was a good trip, many pelts.
I believe he was telling me this story to show me that he was a shrewd negotiator and would not be taken advantage of. I congratulated him on his success and praised his ingenuity. Now it was my turn. Agnol, we want to be welcomed here, to become more than just peddler and purchaser or swapper of goods. I wish for us to become friends. The Vikings are a distinguished and honorable people, and it is important that you receive value for the goods we need for Noordag. It was now that I pulled out and opened the pouch of silver. I poured out a few pieces into his palm, and his face lit up. He chuckled until it became a laugh, and then he looked me in the eye.
Tjorn, I think we are going to be very happy friends.
From that point, it went easily. Agnol got an amount of silver that made him feel richer, and we got the supplies we needed to fill our transport ship. When we returned to the others, Agnol gave his men instructions to bring the already loaded wagons of gathered supplies to the transportal. Within 1 Earth hour, the goods were on their way to the ship, and our new Viking friends headed back to their village with an open invitation to visit again soon. I marveled at these hardy, rugged men, with only basic weaponry and a simple understanding of societal and technological knowledge, and yet they were so accepting of our advanced culture without feeling threatened. Perhaps they did not understand it enough to find it suspicious. Perhaps our small stature made us look less hostile. Regardless, it was time for us to return to the ship and head home. But before I could enter the archway to the transportal, I felt Loki's hand on my shoulder.
Wait for turning. We can't go yet.
I glanced at Loki's I've got an idea smile plastered from ear to ear. Hey, I made a good deal. I don't need a lecture from my older brother.
No, not a lecture. I just don't think we've gotten everything we need to take back to Noordag.
He glanced over his shoulder and then took out a strip of animal hide and pointed to a rudimentary drawing in red and black paint. It was a rendering of a scaly winged reptile with its mouth open in a roar.
Tjorn, there are Drogans on Earth.
But that's impossible. How would it have gotten here? It couldn't have flown. Trust me, wings don't work in space.
We can worry about that question another time, but we need to find it.
Find it? Why? I had seen this sort of determination before from Loki, Be reasonable. We didn't come here for a Drogan.
You know how things are on Noordag. The Drogan population is dying out. If we can find this one and it's in good health, maybe we bring it back to mate and regrow the numbers. We would be famous.
This is crazy. How would we even know where to look?
While you were dealing with Agnell, I chatted with his men. On their recent trip to the new land across the water, they interacted with the native people who told them about the Paeza bird that had nested along the Great River. It hunts the territory around it, feeding on whatever it can carry away: sheep, cattle, deer, even people. One of the natives gave this picture to the Vikings. I know we can find it.
Looky, you're being ridiculous. We have a ship filled with food and fuel that needs to go home. Even if we found this Paeza bird, how would we catch it? Where would we put it on the ship? There are no cages big enough for a Drogan.
And that's the beauty of my plan. We don't take it home by ship. We fly it home. We fly it home through a directly connected transportal.
A what? Looky held up an object that appeared to be a circular medallion with an etching of a turtle on one side and some very unusual symbols around the outer edge on the reverse. I shook my head. I have no idea what this is.
That's okay, I do. Here, look with me through these two small holes in the medallion. There!
With an arm around my shoulders, he held up the Drogan picture so we could view it through the holes. As the picture came into focus, I felt a tingling sensation, and when he pulled the medallion down and away, I looked up at an unfamiliar scene. Gone were the ruins of the Ring Fortress and the smell of the sea. Before me now was a river bluff with a mural painting very similar to the Drogan picture on the animal hide. As my eyes continued upward, I felt a blast of rushing air, and there was the Paeza bird, soaring over the top of the cliff, zooming over us toward the river. How did we... What is that thing?
Not sure what it's called. I came across it on my last trade mission to the planet Dickinsey. We were settling to build a sail and realized we had handed over more silver than necessary. But they did not want to make change. Offered me one of those little things instead. They had lots of them, and I was looking for a souvenir, so I just grabbed this from the basket. It was only later that I figured out what it can do.
I was holding my breath. Maybe I was in shock. I'd completely lost any sense of what we were doing. It was Looky that brought me back to reality as he spun me around to see the Drogan gliding on red glimmering wings over the river, its scales reflecting the sunlight. Then it locked its gaze onto something in the water, changed angle, darted to the water's surface, and grasped something in its talons. With a large fish acquired, it turned in a large arc and flapped back toward the bluff and us.
How great is this? You and me, Drogan Wranglers.
Wait a minute. I never agreed to this. We don't know anything about wrangling anything. Are you trying to get us killed?
We're not going to get killed. You know what, Tjorn? You worry too much. Mom always said you were a nervous Noordagite. Now I see what she meant.
He started laughing again, slapping his knee as he doubled over at the waist. Stop laughing. We don't know if that fish is enough. What if it's just the appetizer? I don't want to end up as a Drogan entree. I kept glancing up to the cliff edge, expecting to see that ominous wingspan twice our size that would create a sinister shadow chasing us as we pointlessly ran, but only until those massive razor-sharp talons would dig into our flesh and lift us to our doom.
Hey, Tjorn, I'm your fraternite. I'm not going to let anything happen to you.
Then you do it without me.
Oh boy, that unfortunately is the one thing I can't do.
Why not?
Because, Tjorn, I can't fly. But you can.
But, huh? There was no logic in my head to argue, so I just stood there.
Okay. Here's the plan. Now that we know approximately where the Drogan is, I jump on your back with this rope. We fly up to wherever we can encounter the Drogan in the open. You fly me to him, I lasso him, and then we look through the holes in the medallion at a picture of Mom's house on Noordag, which I just happened to have brought with me on this trip, thank me very much. And we haul the Drogan through the instant transportal with us, arriving back on Noordag as saviors of the Drogan species. Bing, bang, boom. What do you think?
I took a breath, looking at him dancing a jig with a rope in one hand, the pick in the other, and the medallion now clasped between his bared teeth. Oh, it was his comical growl that released me from my stupor. No. That is the stupidest plan I have ever heard. I absolutely refuse to have anything to do with any of this. Now, give me that medallion. I am going home. I grabbed and yanked it from between his teeth, but did not have a solid grip on it, and it rolled down the bank of the river with a soft plop into the water. But before either of us could pounce down to the water's edge after it, a dangerous shadow zoomed over us. It was the Drogan. Desperate to do something, I dropped my robe and tunic, allowing my wings to spread, and began running away from the shadow, not looking up, probably because I didn't want to know if it was coming after me. Meanwhile, Loki scurried in the opposite direction, starting to twirl the rope noose around his head. I heard him call loudly,
Get along, little Drogan.
Loki, this isn't a game. There is no such thing as herding Drogans. All he did was laugh, but it didn't last long as the Drogan turned sharply in the air and made a beeline right for him. I took to the air, trying to get to him first, but it was not possible, and I watched as the talons spread wide and the Drogan reached for him. Then, at the very last moment, Loki ducked and the talons grasped empty air, and the Drogan began to climb to set up for another pass. But it was Loki that made the next move, straightening up and launching the lasso after the rising predator. And unbelievably to me, the rope encircled the creature's neck and tightened.
Woohoo! Did you see that, Tjorn? I did it!
Ah! The cry from Loki was in response to something that was not in his plan. The Drogan was still climbing and taking the rope and Loki with him. There was my fraternite, dangling from a cord hanging from a Drogan, climbing higher and higher in the sky. Loki, don't let go, I'm coming. I took to the sky, diving first over the riverbank and clutching the medallion from the water, then shooting straight up toward the sun until I could see the Drogan in the distance, keeping its altitude but trying to shake the rope loose. This was causing Loki to bounce at the other end of the rope like a yo-yo that had stretched to the bottom and had no momentum to spin back up. His screams punctuated the thin air as I flapped harder than ever before. I had to be ready for the Drogan to change course, and in the blink of an eye, it did so, diving fast. If I didn't get to Loki in time, he would be dashed on the rocky cliffs of the river. I dove too, angling to try and meet Loki's body before the Drogan reached the Earth's surface. 50 meters, but they were less than that from the ground. 40 meters, and something seemed to be irritating the Drogan as it pulled back up a little. That was when I saw Loki pulling himself up the rope and then dropping hard to cause a sudden pull down, upsetting the Drogan's balance. The Drogan hesitated, then adjusted, and then dove again. 25 meters away, and I judged that they were a similar distance from the cliffs. I closed in my body tight, trying to make my path bullet-like, with as little drag as possible. Nearly there, and as I prepared to grab, I saw Loki wink, and I swooped just under him, grabbed the rope by its loose end, and zoomed back into the sky. Loki now flipped himself, as my end of the rope was higher than where he was, and he hauled himself up towards me, as nimbly as if he had been doing this kind of thing for centuries. In seconds, he was just below me, and with 3 big grunts, he climbed up my back between my wings and said,
Fly!
Where? I cried over my shoulder.
Doesn't matter as long as you don't hit anything. Not to worry. We've got the rope and the Drogan is at the other end. As long as he's chasing us, we can do this.
Is he catching us?
And you don't want to know.
Looking below me, I could see the rope slackening slowly. So what else could I do but fly?
Listen, Tjorn, do you trust me?
You're asking me that now?
You're right. We'll talk about it later. But for now, quick, look at this.
With that command, he wrapped his legs around my waist, then pulled his right arm around with the picture of Mom's house in his hand. Then the left arm came around as he screamed in my ear.
Did you get the medallion?
Of course I did. That was the plan, wasn't it? It's in my waistband under your left leg. Careful, your foot is making it dig into my stomach. With a quick weight adjustment, he found the medallion and brought it back up in his hand.
Find the holes, then find home.
And I did, and he did, and we did. And that brought Loki and me, and an Earth Drogan at the end of its rope, home. Not that we had a plan for how to subdue the Drogan circling with us over our mother's backyard, but with the quick aid of air traffic animal controllers, the beast, which had begun to tire anyway, was safely netted. Then, after being checked over by my personal physician, licensed to care for all flying creatures, he was transported off to a feral Drogan sanctuary to become a part of a new conservation winged breeding program.
Hey, Tjorn, do you hear that? A winged breeding program? Maybe even you could get a date.
You see what I have to put up with? I should tell you that Lookie dropped the medallion just as we went through the transportal, so we were never able to repeat this kind of adventure. But transportals also got more advanced, so we didn't need to. And for me, once was enough. So, this is my story. If you doubt any of it, there are Earth records regarding much of it. Garden gnomes, the Vikings' love of silver, the payaza bird. And why have I returned? Well, I've been tasked to find what you call the Kensington runestone and help to decipher what it is. I'm not quite sure how it translates from Old Norwegian, but in our Noordag language, I suspect it might just be the detailed receipt of goods we left with Agnel on our last trip. Maybe he dropped it on a later trip to Minnesota. Perhaps a story for another time.
There you have it, Curdy. Who knew there were thunder gnomes?
Well, I certainly did. But my dad used to have a garden gnome. He called it Norman. He used to say, "I was just out in the yard, and Norman told me you came home after curfew last night, so you're grounded for a week. Oh, and don't you whine about it, or Norman will make it 2 weeks." Yeah, I never cared for that gnome. But many thanks to Tjorn for sharing his story with us today. It was lovely, almost lyrical in a way, don't you think, Sally?
Well, it was no poetry corner, but then what is?
I completely agree, Sally. It was nothing like your poetry corner.
So shall we visit my corner again now? Do we need another rhyme?
Well, why don't we just say goodbye now? And folks, keep peace in your heart until our next story time.
Don't just sit and scoff. Season 5 is taking off. Here to show wrong from right. Share with you the true life. Even though things might be tight, the future's bright because the writers can write. Now, give us the countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Space Crew on Curdy. Space Crew on Sally. Space Crew on Space Crew on,
You know, alien.
I'll give you alien.
Space croutons again and again. No matter where, no matter when, there to be found, the legendary now. So let's count up season 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.0. Now here we go! Space croutons, Curdy. Space croutons, Sally. Space croutons, Space croutons.
Because in space, no one can hear you sing.
Whitney Houston, we have a problem.
Space Croutons is a work of original fiction. Similarities to persons, situations, or events, real or fictional, is coincidental and unintentional. Created and written by Jerry, Jace, John, Della, and Jeff Goodson. Episode story by Jeff. Original music by John, Della, Jeff, and Jerry. Production by Jeff. Featuring the voice talents of John, Jerry, Della, Jeff, and Sally. Entire work copyright 2024 by Jeff, John, Jerry, Della, and Jace Goodson. This has been a Good Witch audio production.